Who is stronger financially and economically? Is it classified as the mother of its Chinese crime? The Great Bloc outperforms its Chinese counterpart in the financial and monetary fields. A report in the British newspaper Financial Times made an effective comparison between the group of the United States and its close allies, and the services of the Chinese bloc that supports it. And Washington still has an effective advantage over its competitor China. How so? The report quotes summaries of an analysis described as exciting provided by the London-based company Capital Economics on the shape of the torn global economy in 2024. Analyzing global economic policy always interacts, but politics has become more important today, and its concept is summarized in reshaping the economy through the fraught relations between the United States. Capital economics can divide countries into 5 groups. The United States and their conferences formed from the data of the United States and Europe, known and Australia and New Zealand. Countries that have only about the United States, primarily India, Colombia, Mexico, Morocco, Turkey, South Korea. Non-aligned countries, the size of this group is Brazil, Indonesia, Nigeria. China and multilateral alliances, huge China, Iran, Pakistan. Countries that China is close to, Argentina, a large part of Africa including South Africa, Iraq, Kazakhstan, Saudi Arabia. The report's author, Martin Wolf, considered that there is a fundamental distinction between the first group and the rest, saying that the high-income democracies share basic values, although whether they continue to do so depends on the outcome of the 2024 US presidential election, while the other groups are defined much more by what they oppose than what they support. He added that Russia and Iran are allies of interest to China and vice versa, and they share the same enemy, but these countries are still very different from each other. However, alliances of interest can shape economic and political relations. The enemy of my enemy may for a time be a good friend indeed. The balance of power. According to the author, the Chinese bloc represents half the world's landmass compared to 35% of the US bloc, and is home to a slightly larger number of the world's population, 46% versus 43%, but it still generates only 27% of global GDP, almost all of which is in China itself, compared to about 67% in the US bloc. The Chinese bloc's share of industry is more important than its share of GDP, which reached 38% of global industrial output in 2022, compared to 55% for the US bloc. In agriculture, the Chinese bloc generates 49% of output, compared to about 38% for the US bloc, because it includes many commodity producers. In 2022, 144 countries traded more goods with China than they traded with the United States. The United States was the largest trading partner for only 60 countries, but half of global goods trade was between countries classified as part of the US bloc. However, the writer added, among the ways in which this balance could change is the disintegration of the US bloc or the rapid growth of the Chinese economy. US dominance over financial activities. The writer also pointed out that the US bloc remains dominant in financial activities and capital flows. Despite its shrinking position in FDI, it still accounts for 84% of total FDI stock by the investing country and 87% by the recipient country in 2022, due to the world's dominant companies and recipient countries. About 86% of global portfolio investment is within the US bloc, and only 2% within the Chinese bloc. FDI between the US and China blocs is 3 times that of FDI within the Chinese bloc. Foreign exchange reserves still consist mostly of assets denominated in the US currency and the currencies of its allies. In the second half of 2023, these reserves accounted for 87% of foreign exchange reserves, as only these countries provide long-term liquid financial assets, while China is unlikely to want to provide these bonds because this would require liberalizing and opening up its financial markets, including Chinese public debt markets. Based on these numbers, the writer concluded that the American bloc appears more united and economically stronger than the Chinese bloc, considering that the Chinese bloc's superiority over the American bloc will take much longer and may never be achieved, according to his expression. Super Uke watermark text.